Friday, February 17. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory, and before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another. Ellen White uses this in The Desire of Ages, page 637. She continues, "Thus Christ on the Mount of Olives pictured to his disciples the scene of the great judgment day, and he represented its decision as turning upon one point. When the nations were gathered before him, there will be but two classes, and their eternal destiny will be determined by what they have done or have neglected to do for him in the person of the poor and the suffering." End of quote. And then from the same book, Desire of Ages, page 639. "As you open your door to Christ's needy and suffering ones, you are welcoming unseen angels. You invite the companionship of heavenly beings. They bring a sacred atmosphere of joy and peace. They come with praises upon their lips, and an answering strain is heard in heaven. Every deed of mercy makes music there. The Father, from his throne, numbers the unselfish workers among his most precious treasures." End of quote. And that brings us to our two discussion questions for this week. 1. For the poor will never cease from the land, we read in Deuteronomy 15:11. Besides the fact that this prediction, though thousands of years old, unfortunately has been fulfilled, how are we to understand it today? Some have used these words to all but justify not helping the poor, reasoning this way: well, God said the poor would always be among us, so that's just the way it is. What's the fallacy of that thinking? And 2, read 1 Timothy 6:17-19. "Command those who are rich in this present age not to be haughty, nor to trust in uncertain riches, but in the living God, who gives us richly all things to enjoy. Let them do good, that they may be rich in good works, ready to give, willing to share, storing up for themselves a good foundation for the time to come, that they may lay hold on eternal life." Notice what the danger is: to trust in one's riches as opposed to the living God. Why is that so easy for those who have money to do, even though they know that in the end even all their money won't keep them alive? Why must we be careful about not trusting in anything other than the living God? And now it's time for our mission story for this week, read by my niece Sibylla, who, like me, is also a volunteer. Thank you, Sibylla.
Twin Surprises in Finland by Andrew McChesney. Simo Vekavuri, a young literature evangelist in Finland, got a surprise as he went from house to house in Lapland. When he rang the doorbell at one house, a woman opened the door and, seeing him outside, explained, "I want to order that set of 10 Bible stories from you." Simo didn't even have time to tell her that he was selling books, much less mention that he had Arthur Maxwell's set of 10 Bible story books for children. "You might be surprised about why I'm ordering the books so quickly from you," the woman said. "During the night, God gave me a dream, and in the dream, he showed your face and said, 'This man will come to your house. Order from him a 10-volume set of Bible story books.' That's why I was ready to order right away." Another time, Simo stopped by a local business and offered the owner a copy of Ellen White's The Great Controversy. "We don't understand anything about this book," the owner said, "but our daughter is the principal of a religious school. She will be here tomorrow. Can you come back?" Simo told his twin brother, who was selling books with him in the town, about the appointment. "Please pray," he said. When Simo returned to the business, the owner introduced him to his daughter. The woman exploded in anger when she learned that Simo was a Seventh-day Adventist, and she harshly criticized the Adventist church. When she finished, he asked for permission to speak. "Dear Principal," he said, "you cannot imagine what a great God we serve in the Adventist church. I want to follow the God whom we can serve wherever he leads." The woman looked surprised. "Young man, if God means so much to you," she paused and turned to her mother. "Mother, can you give me some money? I want to buy all the books that this young man has." Simo prayed with the woman and her parents. Returning to the room where he was staying with his brother, he found his brother on his knees. He excitedly told his brother about God's miraculous intervention. Simo, now retired, smiled joyfully as he told Adventist Mission about witnessing God's presence as he worked to fulfill the church's mission. "It was an inspiring thing for me to see that God is behind his work," he said. This mission story illustrates spiritual growth objective number 5 of the Seventh-day Adventist Church's I Will Go strategic plan, to disciple individuals and families into spirit-filled lives. You can read more in iwillgo2020.org. Read more about Simo next week.
This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. And you can listen and watch at the same time on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful. And here is a disclaimer. Contents of these lessons are not intended to be financial advice, but is general commentary based on biblical principles. The reader is encouraged to seek competent professional advice which will suit their particular personal situation.